Welcome to another Elfata Geography presentation. This will look at how different groups of people have responded to the 2013 Typhoon Haiyan. It's part of the Global Hazards Unit, where you will study a non-UK based hazard. Previously, we had looked at the causes and consequences of this extremely powerful weather hazard. We'll now look at the responses in this show. Make sure you make some revision notes as you go along.
Part 1 of the Typhoon Haiyan study investigated the causes behind the super-typhoon, which had a devastating negative impact upon the Philippines EDC.
The huge storm, stretching over 300 miles wide, arrived on the 8th of November, bringing 300 millimetres of rainfall, as much as Tamworth receives in a year, along with winds up to 195 miles per hour.
Pause the show and double check you know the basic facts before moving on to look at the responses to this natural weather disaster. If you need more detail, then why not watch the first YouTube show all about Typhoon Haiyan's causes.
In order to look at responses, we need to understand what aid means. Can you remember what this word means?
Aid is the provision of support and help from one country to another. This can be with money, equipment, training and loans.
For Typhoon Haiyan, we will focus upon the quality of the provision of emergency aid, which came from the Philippine government support and international aid. We tend not to simply focus on money itself, but rather the support that money buys. Pause the show, make sure you understand what aid means before moving on. The first 72 hours after any natural disaster are crucial to help save people's lives and reduce the destruction of the storm. The Philippine government issued a televised warning on how to be evacuated to safety. Unfortunately, the telecommunications had been severely damaged, so not all got the message, and most areas they said to escape to had actually been flooded. The locals relied more on social media instead.
The Philippine EDC government sent what food and medical supplies it had spare to the area most hit by the disaster. This provision, though, was slow to arrive because of the destruction to Tacloban Airport and seaports, as well as blocked roads from landslides making access to the area hard.
The United Nations made a global appeal to help raise money to help provide the emergency aid required to support those most affected. It helped raise £190 million.
The Philippine government also issued a curfew to stop people moving around at night. Make a note of some of the immediate responses before moving on.
Britain diverted its Navy ship HMS Daring to the area. The Navy sent its helicopters with resources and medical staff to provide support in the remote island which had also been affected. This provided successful and saved many lives.
The Australian government sent over £28 million of emergency aid quickly to the region, providing vital support to those most affected.
The Philippines Army managed to get electricity back to the city of Tacloban. Pause the show, make a note of these successful short-term responses before moving on.
Typhoon Haiyan will not be the last natural weather disaster to hit the Philippines. The government decided to introduce the Build Back Better scheme, which made larger typhoon shelters on high ground. They also ensured that new homes were to be built further inland with stronger materials.
The non-government charity Oxfam provided support to help with the important local fishing fleet. This has not only helped the people back to work, but also brought in food and self-support for the region.
Along the coast, mangrove trees have been replanted. This has been done to build up a natural barrier against future storm surges in the hope that they will provide a natural buffer. Pause the show and make a note of these long-term responses before looking at an exam question.
On the screen we have a typical exam question which asks for you to evaluate the responses to Typhoon Haiyan. The question has been bugged to help fully understand what it wants.
Because it starts with evaluate, it will require a balanced argument with a conclusion saying that overall the Philippines has recovered but too many died due to being ill prepared.
A grade 9 answer should include some facts and key details to help prove to the examiner you've properly evaluated the scheme. Pause the show and have a go yourself at this question before looking at a worked example.
Here we have on the screen a breakdown of how to structure a top answer. Because it is a case study, you should always give its name and brief location.
The main part of the answer provides a few examples of the aid given. Notice how each method is evaluated on its effectiveness throughout the answer. rather than just leaving this till the conclusion. A top answer would have 3 or 4 developed points.
Remember to include a conclusion which links back to the question and shows clear evaluation as the command word asks. This concludes this presentation about the responses made to Typhoon Haiyan.